This is PWME VIP video podcast. LK here with your weekly TNA Impact Wrestling review. This is a special free version. It's going to go out to the masses here on the LK VIP channel, obviously completely free. If you do want to become a VIP member, make sure you head over to LK VIP, the YouTube channel. If you're already watching this on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. You have the first 14 days completely free. It will be 100% free. If you're still enjoying the content, it's 3 podcasts a day. If you're still enjoying the content, it's 99 pence, 99 euros, not 99 euros, obviously 0.99 euros and 99 cents, 99 pence. Wherever you're in the world, it's 0.99 that currency. Like, for instance, I'm English, so it'll be 99 pence. It's not even a pound, it's not even a dollar, it's not even the whole euro a month. Happy with the subscription rates, happy with the subscription service at the minute. We're nailing 3 video podcasts a day at this moment in time. I'm doing 1 video podcast for PWME over on the PWME YouTube channel. And then also I do 2 VIP video podcasts here. So today my plan of attack is, if you're listening to this on the VIP channel, which most of you are, as I can see on the viewership bar at the bottom here, TNA Impact Wrestling review here. Then I'm going to do Daily Dirt exclusively for VIPs, which is where every single day I give you the news, gossip, rumors, TV ratings, results, upcoming matches, upcoming match cards when it pertains to professional wrestling - sports and whatever you like to call it. But enough of this lollygagging and pussy fucking around. This is your weekly TNA Impact Wrestling review, and this is the first time it's ever been free since the inception about a month ago of LK VIP. It is the very first time that I've given this out for free. So hopefully you enjoy the show. In case you are not familiar with TNA Impact Wrestling, then last week Drew Galloway, formerly Drew McIntyre from the WWE, won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship after cashing in his Feast or Fight briefcase. They did a quick replay of that, and then Galloway opened the show. He talks about his 15-year journey to becoming the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He calls this a fresh start for TNA and wants people to look at the company completely different now. Fat Hardy then comes out. I have a level of hatred for Matt Hardy. I call him Fat Hardy if you're new to VIP. I call Matt Hardy Fat Hardy. And I call Jeff Hardy Spliff Hardy. Because it's a really horrible joke, but basically when he went through that really drug phase, I always call him Spliff Hardy. So that's just stuck with me. It's just stuck. So I know Jeff Hardy as Spliff Hardy. I know Matt Hardy as Fat Hardy. That's just the way it's been for the past, half a decade, for crying out loud. Fatty comes out. He accuses Drew of committing felony and robbery and should have been arrested. Drew is defiant and says he was simply making the most of his opportunity. Fatty demands Drew gives him a rematch or he'll destroy him right now. Context is everything. Spliff Hardy then comes out. Jeff thinks he deserves to have the amount of drugs that any man on the planet should. I'm joking there. Spliff thinks he deserves a shot at the belt. Drew seems open to the idea. Fatty is going mental at this because obviously, Spliff's spending money on the food when they should be Spliff is spending money on the drugs when Fatty wants it spent on the food. And they're digressing. They're verklempt. They're both emotionally speechless. They don't know what to do. Anyway, Bram and Eric Young then show up and attack Spliff. A big brawl breaks out as it doesn't look good for the baby faces. Ethan Carter III comes out to help, armed with a steel chair. He tells Drew he deserves a title shot too. Maria and the Miracle Mike Bennett then come out. Basically, everyone has just come out. Then Dixie appears. She disrespects Fatty and says he's childish. And then she announced a gauntlet match later on tonight where the winner gets a shot at the championship belt next week on Impact on Pop. Decent opening segment here. I'm going to be honest with you. I enjoyed this opening segment. And I said, obviously it's a bit difficult because obviously you aren't the VIP members because you didn't watch last week's review. So it makes it a lot difficult, but because I don't want to give too much away in case you go back and listen to all the video on demand and the archives, or what the fuck you want to call it, I put over how there's lots of the reason why I was so happy with the main event of the 15th of March edition of Impact Wrestling is heading off that show. There was so many roads and so many avenues they could take the stories down. You could go Fat Hardy versus EC3. You could go Fat Hardy versus Spliff Hardy. You could do Spliff Hardy versus EC3. You could do Spliff Hardy versus Drew Galloway. You could do Drew Galloway versus Lashley. You could do Drew Galloway versus Mike Bennett. So many rivalries, so many options. And one thing that, I criticized WWE a lot is they booked themselves into a corner. And it's good for TNA wrestling here to, learn from that. And they haven't booked themselves into a corner here. They got themselves a very fresh, a very thriving World Heavyweight Championship scene, which is good for every company. You got Drew Galloway, EC3, Mike Bennett, Fatty, Spliff, Eric Young no longer, but Bram. It's a decent looking main event scene, and the mid card scene isn't looking too shabby either. So for so many months, I rode TNA and gave them such a hard time, especially during the World Heavyweight Championship Series. I said it was bullshit, embarrassing to professional wrestling. And when looking at this, it's improved so much, and I'm actually enjoying the hell out of it. And from a guy who isn't the biggest TNA wrestling fan, I really am not. I'm probably not. I used to be in 2008, 2009, 2010. I'd consider myself like a really big TNA fan. I went to a house show over here in England, and I was a TNA lover. And then Hogan and Bischoff came in, they changed it to four-sided, and it just became WWE Light. And they've never really got out of that. And they're still, in my opinion, it's a WWE Light show. However, I'm enjoying the stories. I'm enjoying the younger talent. It's a bunch of young bucks, no pun intended here. In this locker room, I mean, you got Mike Bennett, you got EC3, you got Drew Galloway, you got some veterans in there like Spliff and Fatty, and obviously Gregory Helms, obviously as an agent. That's a decent little mix they've got going on there, and I wish nothing but the best for each and every wrestler on this roster. It's a damn shame about Beer Money having to split up because of Bobby Roode leaving and Eric Young leaving, but we'll see how they leave in the coming weeks. And I don't know how they leave. I don't know. I don't want to know, because in my opinion, the night is dark and full of spoilers. Yes, I just ripped that off Game of Thrones, and I'm proud. And if loving Game of Thrones is wrong, I never want to be right. Beer Money then issue an open challenge, and Robbie E comes out, and he basically reunites the bromance, which is Robbie E and Jesse Goddard. Beer Money won with the drinking while investing on Robbie E. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Roode will be missed greatly. Roode is one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet, which is why I'm not scared for Bobby Roode, because I know he'll land on his feet. There'll be so many booking opportunities for him, whether he wants to go to New Japan or if he wants to jump ship and go to NXT. But if I'm Bobby Roode, this I think when you picture Bobby Roode in your mind, and everyone listening right now, if you picture Bobby Roode in your mind, you obviously the first thing that comes to mind is TNA Wrestling or Impact Wrestling, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I don't know, is the company name TNA Wrestling? Is the company name Impact Wrestling? That's a different story for a different time, but I digress. When you picture Bobby Roode, you picture TNA Wrestling. Okay, so imagine this. He goes to NXT. Okay, NXT offer him a contract. Okay, and the reason why Bobby Roode left TNA was because of the money. If you remember last year, James Storm, who's very close friends with Bobby Roode, went to NXT and then came back to TNA because TNA offered him more money to stay away from NXT. If I'm Bobby Roode, I'm contacting WWE and I'm saying, look, can you put me on NXT? And even if, just get yourself on NXT, get yourself a tryout. I mean, he's one heck of a pro wrestler. He's an established guy. And on NXT, with that niche audience, the hardcore wrestling fan as the target audience, it'll be fine. So, Bobby Roode can come out like they did with James Storm. That can get, NXT over. It can get Bobby Roode over to a different level. And then Roode can leave NXT, go back to Impact on more money. Eric Young might do the same, but the issue I have here is Bobby Roode's going on 40 at the minute. He's 39 going on 40. And do we really want to see another guy get a WWE in that age? And we're now wondering why everyone is injured. I mean, if you build a sports entertainer from the ground up, you get Randy Orton. He's actually younger than most of these guys coming in right now. And that's really scary if you consider he's been there since 2002, 2001, 2002 on the main roster anyway. So that's 14 years on the main roster, and he's younger than some of these guys who are making their first debuts on the main roster. That's really surprising, but times are changing. We're changing with the times. But anyway, back to the point of Beer Money versus Robbie E. Jesse Goddard. I thought it was a decent match. Robbie E's definitely improved so much in the ring. I can remember in 2010, 2011, 2012, even 2013, really, I thought his in-ring work stunk. It was dull. It was boring. But now, he's picked the pace up a little bit. Sometimes I always tell these obviously I don't tell them, but I always suggest slow it down. That's what I've been loving about the Triple H series of matches with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. He slowed it the fuck down. And here on this show, Robbie E, he's been picking up the pace. He's been adding moves to his offense and his repertoire. And it's just been an absolutely incredible. I'm so impressed. And, if Robbie E does come over to England, I will be definitely going out of my way to see him because he's just improved so much. And if you haven't seen a Robbie E match in a few years, you're like, oh, fuck Robbie E, I skip his matches, give him a chance. And Jesse Goddard looks great. Beer Money obviously won, and they look good doing it. And Robbie E and Jesse Goddard, they didn't look too bad. And I'm looking forward, obviously, on next week's Impact, next Tuesday's Impact on Pop, we'll see Bram and Drew Galloway kind of look similar. Bram and Eric Young facing off against Broman. So I'm assuming, judging by that the Bromans are babyface. Then we have the Decade. They challenge Eddie Edwards to a no disqualification match. Then they do this segments where there's, they all pick their numbers. And then one particular backstage segment, Eric Young picks a number out and Willow is there for a brief moment of time. And I'm not a fan of the Willow character. I'm not really a fan of Spliff Hardy. I'm not a fan of Fat Hardy. I don't like Fat Hardy's wife. And by the way, Fat Hardy's wife is like 14 years younger than her, or 11. 10 is 10 to 14, around that. That's disgusting because she either has a fetish for fat men or she likes people's money. My money's on the later, but I digress. I'm not a fan of the Willow character. I was not a fan of it back in 2014. I'm not a fan of it now. I wasn't a fan of it back in, late 1990s with Omega Wrestling. Like, I'm not a fan of the Willow character. It's just something that doesn't appeal to me. I'm all for characters in pro wrestling, for crying out loud, because, you want to have something to attach to. I don't want to sit there for like 5 hours of my time just watching men wrestle. I want to have some character to you. And, Willow, does it draw? There's no... Like, for instance, Sting. If Sting dresses up as Sting, that's like, holy fuck, that's the Sting character. If Mark Calloway came out as Mark Calloway, and then or if he came out as The Undertaker, people can go, oh, holy shit, that's The Undertaker. Jeff Hardy comes out as Jeff Hardy, they're going to go, holy fuck, that's Jeff Hardy. If he comes out as Willow, it's, who the fuck's this Willow guy? Like, there's no brand, there's no name value, there's no brand value to Willow. So I don't actually see the appeal and the reasoning of such to have Willow be on the show, for crying out loud. Because the way I see it, there's a plethora of wrestlers all around the world that you could have signed. Give them characters, give them time to develop a character. Instead, you give Willow this. Samuel Shaw. Willow is this kind of creepy guy. Samuel Shaw is one talented wrestler, and he's a great character-driven talent. So if I'm out there, I'm going to be signing Samuel Shaw, and I'm having Samuel Shaw, creep out Eric Young, creep the fuck out of him, and then have him just attack Eric Young to the point where Eric Young, has to leave TNA because he's that injured. Do a storyline where it ends his career. Even though he goes on to wrestle elsewhere, it ends his TNA career, and just make his impact in a bang, no pun intended. And I think Samuel Shaw, in my opinion, I think in a few years' time might bite them in the ass. I loved the storyline with Ken Anderson and Sam Shaw. I loved the Sam Shaw and Christy Hemme storyline back in 2014. I thought that was riveting television. I honestly was a big fan. But anyway, we have Eddie Edwards versus Crazy Steve. Eddie Edwards got the win with a roll-up. One thing I loved about this match is when he did get the roll-up, he quickly rolled out of the ring in desperation and ran up the ramp to show his intimidation. By doing that, you're putting over Crazy Steve because you're like, oh shit, I'm scared what he's going to do to me. This was your typical, no DQ match. Steve hit a cannonball on the outside onto Edwards into steps. They did I'm going to put the chair in all 75 different quarters and ram them in there. It was a decent match. Eddie Edwards gets the win. In my opinion, they're just doing filler to get the Decade over. And by the way, I'm a big fan of the Decade. I love all three talents. I'm a fan of Rosemary. I'm a fan of the Monster of Biz, and I'm a fan of Crazy Steve. And I love how they finally found something that clicks, and that's the Decade. And I just pray. I love their backstage vignettes. They're different. They're unique. They're attacking people in the back. They're taking people out, and they're doing it, and they're looking good doing it. And I love the character. I love the way they dress. I love the way they portray the characters. It's like, it's all well and good. But like, for instance, I say Harry Potter. Harry Potter's a great character. There's lots of depth to his character. If you had anybody else but Daniel Radcliffe play that guy, I don't think it would have worked. It's all about, in the end of the day, you could give the Crazy Steve, the guy, Crazy Steve, that gimmick. But if he isn't talented enough and can't portray it so that it's believable, I don't think it works. So if I was wearing my hat, and for once I'm fucking not, 'cause I got my hair cut today and I'm damn loving it, I will tilt my cap. Where's my hat? I've got my fucking Impact Wrestling hat here somewhere. I tilt my Impact Wrestling hat to Crazy Steve, Abiz, and Rosemary for portraying their characters so well and actually making it believable. Then we have Maria comes out. She confronts Gail Kim, your Knockouts champion, and says she's going to be the new star of the Knockouts division. Boresh talks to Jeff Hardy and EC3. Carter threatens Bennett. They both pick numbers. Carter is number one. Maria then comes out to the ring. She says being the first lady of professional wrestling is better than being the worst lady of wrestling. Okay, Maria was supposed to face Gail, but she said it changed nothing to as she faced and defeated Gail last week. Because remember, it was a mixed tag match of Bennett and Gail Kim, and Bennett and Maria versus Gail Kim and now TNA champion Drew Galloway. So she brought out the Dollhouse instead, aka the strippers, honestly strippers. She says it's a time for them to break up and fight each other, and then announces the winner gets her championship match next week. So we have the Dollhouse colliding here as we have Rebel versus Marty versus Jade. Jade won with an STO on Marty onto Rebel to get the win, and I don't know if this means that the Dollhouse is over. But to me, the Dollhouse never. I was a fan of the Dollhouse when it was Taryn Terrell, Jade, and Marty. Now we're just like how it's like the beautiful people. How many times do we have to go over this storyline? And in my opinion, the Dollhouse is a rip off of the beautiful people anyway. Like in my opinion, when we see the beautiful people, they came out. The reason why they were so good is they realized that what they lacked in ring wise and in ring ability, they made up for in looks, they made up for it in character, they made up for storytelling. These three, Jade is really talented. Marty's okay. Rebel, watching her bump is actually uncomfortable. I think she's a really bad pro wrestler, but I'm happy Jade got the win. And I think Jade, who is Mia Yim in the Indies, versus Gail Kim, if it gets given 10 to 15 minutes for the Knockouts Championship, could be something special. Then we have Fatty complaining about how there's a big conspiracy against him, and Tyrus and Spud. They all pick their numbers. Fatty swaps with Spud because he disliked his number. And then Grado and this Indian guy, they plan some kind of party. Drew then comes out. That's Drew Galloway. He comes out and says, there is way too much talking. The fans agree and start a no more talking chant. Lashley is the first guy in the Gauntlet. He says he respects Drew, but Drew is still irate and how he treated Angle and isn't really feeling it. He wants to fight Lashley. Then EC3 comes out. So we have a Gauntlet match and we have Lashley and EC3. They are starting. Spud's number 3, Bennett's number 4, Young's number 5, Tyrus number 6. All 5 ganged up on Carter for a little while. Spud was the first to get thrown out as we headed to commercial break. We come back. Tyrus is gone. Lashley gets rid of Bram, and then the Pope gets rid of him out of revenge. Because if you remember last week, in my opinion, the segment of the night, Lashley got insane heel heat by laying his hands on announcer Josh Matthews. Shame he didn't actually end his life. Oh, sorry, career, not his life. I don't want the guy to die. He's got a fucking kid with Madison Rayne. Madison Rayne's gorgeous, but I digress. And he speared the Pope out of his boots. So I don't know what we're going down. If we're going down a Pope versus Lashley feud, if we are, I'm all for that. I'm a big fan of Bobby Lashley. I'm a big fan of the Pope. And, if it gets Pope off commentary, I have no issue with that. Spliff Hardy's number 7. Bennett is eliminated by EC3. Then basically Carter is sent out because Bennett pulls his arm down. Much like, do you remember the 1993 Royal Rumble? Maybe 1993 Royal Rumble, the one where Ric Flair won it. I think that was 1992. Sorry, I was born in 96, so me actually knowing that is shocking. The one where basically Hogan got dumped by Sid, and then Hogan pulled Sid down, and then Ric Flair pushed him out of the ring. That's what they did here, but it was, EC3 eliminated Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett pulled EC3 down, and Fat Hardy pushed him out. So that means storyline-wise, we're going down the EC3 versus Mike Bennett feud, which, in my opinion, is going to be a great feud. And hopefully, it turns out the winner will become the number one contender for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. Because I'm a fan of both EC3 and I'm a fan of Mike Bennett. 2 phenomenal signings by TNA management. So we're now down to Fatty and Spliff. Basically, Fatty then grabs the mic, cuts the promo, saying, "You know what? I'll make you a deal, Jeff. If you give me that Snickers bar, I will let you win." And then Jeff's like, "Man, you don't want this Snickers bar. Do you know how much weed's in this, man?" I'm joking. Basically, we have Spliff and Fatty left. Fatty gets eliminated by a reversal of a back body drop. The crowd goes wild. Drew claps from the ramp as Jeff is in the ring celebrating. They then have a stare down to tease you for next week's edition. So that's a good job there from Impact for basically teasing you and giving you a hook and making you want to watch next week and giving you a reason to watch next week's edition of TNA Impact Wrestling. So overall, good job there from Impact. I was a fan of pretty much everything on this show. Not much I didn't really dislike about this show. I mean, I've been a negative Nelly on NXT review this week. Raw sucked. Ring of Honor was absolutely phenomenal this week. Tier 1 Wrestling on the weekend was atrocious, dude. Most of you got that joke. If you haven't, I watched Tier 1 Wrestling and one of the commentators said, "Dude," every 5 fucking minutes. And I quote, I think I just brain farted, dude. Like, I was literally there, like, honestly, I honestly recommend you checking that show out just for that because it was so damn entertaining. And that's on the pressing.me YouTube channel, by the way, or KocoSports. It's basically KocoSports-pressing.me, which is a pain in the ass to advertise. Anyhow, I give this episode of Impact a win. When it comes to my shows of the week that I've watched, Raw was last, NXT was shit, Tier 1 Wrestling was shit, Impact was good, Ring of Honor was good. What else have I watched? I'm halfway through SmackDown and I'm enjoying that, so VIP members be on the lookout for a Thursday night SmackDown review. Obviously, I'm going to be doing some WrestleMania talk. I'm about to do Daily Dirt for VIP exclusively, so if you're watching this and you're not a VIP member and you enjoyed this show, you enjoyed what I brought to the table, and you want more Impact reviews, you want more of my analysis of professional wrestling, I do series called Raw Rewind. We're currently at December the 16th, 1996. I'll be watching that tomorrow and giving a review of that on Sunday, as well as a Monday Night Raw preview. And obviously Daily Dirt every single day apart from Saturday and Monday. Saturday is my day off. I do 2 to 3 to 4 video podcasts a day apart from Saturday. Because that's my day off, because I am a human being. So thank you all so much if you are a VIP member for the support. If you're not a VIP member, why aren't you? Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the show. I've enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed this week's Impact. Hope you enjoyed it too. Hope you give Impact a shot. Happy with their TV ratings. They're obviously over 350,000, but I don't want to talk about too much about that because I give that out for VIPs on Daily Dirt every single day. So like, comment, subscribe. This has been your boy LK from ProWrestling.me and KocoSports.net. That's KocoSports.net. That's where the world goes to cash in for combat sports, and above all, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. From this passionate fan to you, this has been your boy LK. Stay safe, stay well, have a great Saturday, and I'll be sure to catch your ass down the line.